HS Tech channel. Hello folks, welcome back to the HS Tech channel VSE special. In this video we're going to look at programming CICS. CICS is of course the interactive front end on VSE and of course the wonderful transaction processing system we all know and love. So in this video we're going to look at how do you write a CICS program, how do you modify CICS so that you can actually load the program, how do you define the program to CICS, how do you set security, and how do you actually run it. So the first thing we're going to do is actually that second thing I mentioned, and we are going to manipulate the CICS startup job, which you have to do in order to tell it where it can pull programs from. You're going to see what I mean. So go ahead and log in as a sysadmin, go to your program development library, go to library 59, excuse me, look for skCICS, hit F2. Now I'm going to want to copy this to some new thing, I know new CICS, on library 10. Now I actually don't need to do this because I've already done this. I'm going to go back to library 10 and here's my new CICS. So edit that. You're going to note here that this is basically recataloguing a stored JCL in a library file, and then it reads it in using down here. This is where it actually loads it. So all you need to do is you just need to edit this libdef line, because primary.prog and primary.user are not normally in the CICS load concatenation, so I just put it here. Now be careful, this can be a security risk, so you may want to consider not doing this, but just for a simple demonstration this is the way to go. In reality you'd probably want to allocate a dedicated CICS load library. We're just taking it basic. So after you've done that, you're going to want to go over to your console and you're going to want to look at something. If you do a D reader, you're going to see that you have your CICS ICCF job stuck in the reader queue. Well, right now it's running, but if you stop it, it's still going to be there because it's disposition L. L means it stays in there pretty much for good. So what we have to do is we have to go over here and we have to resubmit this job. Now once you've resubmitted it, you can see, okay, it's done. Now if we do D reader again, you can see we now have two CICS ICCF jobs. So what we have to do is essentially slipstream it in and replace the running CICS ICCF job with this one. And the way we do it is by restarting, well, pretty much restarting CICS twice. But in order to do that, first we have to set this one to disposition D so it goes away. And then this one right here will then be made to go away. And so we do A reader oh, yeah, I can't do that just yet because I have to stop the existing CICS. So go over here, sign out. And oh, alright, go shut it down so you don't need it anymore. See, we still got it. So now we do our alter command. Now this right here actually starts it up. As soon as you got it, bam, it's running. Alright, so now we just actually kill CICS again, but you have to be careful. You now need to resubmit it. Before we kill CICS again, unless you have some other alternate way to restart it, you need to go ahead and resubmit that job. So resubmit your new CICS job. Wait on the magical clock to wait forever. Alright, and now it's kind of hard to type, this microphone stand in a way. And now we have two of the same jobs. So now we restart that. And this is now running the new CICS. Now in theory you can do this with just 2 restarts, not 3, but it's better to take it slow and safe. And this right here, that right there is where you, if you may need to do any maintenance work, now it's time to do it. You see we now only have one CICS ICCF job, so now you do R reader, and of course that right there is just going to release it and allow it to run, but of course because it's class L it's going to run forever. And of course it's still going to be in there. So there you go, you're now running on your modified CICS that is now able to fetch phases from your modified library. So now go back in and log into ICCF again, except this time we're going to log in as the user ID, not the programmer user ID, and now we can actually write our program. So go to program development library, whichever one you may have, and I already typed out the program to save you having to watch me type, albeit poorly because of keyboard constructions. But this is all you pretty much do. It's just a standard old COBOL CICS program. Now you can program this in any language you want, assuming you have the preprocessor available. C is probably the most difficult language to do CICS programming in, by the way. I recommend doing it in COBOL or even assembly language. Now this, of course, is a command level program. You can even do command level programming in assembly language. You probably don't want to use macro level programming for any new programs because you're not supposed to do that anymore. So as you can see, this is relatively easy to do. Also, if you do this in C, you type this exact same stuff. It's kind of weird, but it is what it is. So once you've typed out your program, now we're going to compile it. And of course, we're going to do the good old compile dialog to save time. This is actually an online program. This is not a batch program. This right here is, of course, COBOL VSE. We don't want a DB2 server. We do want to catalog it. We're going to call it C for compile CICS high. And of course, as always, save it in an output member. Hit F2 to refresh and edit this. What you gotta do here is change, of course, the destination. So there we go. Save that. Now before we get out, we're gonna look at what this does. IES insert pretty much allows this job to be slipstreamed in a multi-step sort of fashion. Okay, this right here is exactly what you think it is. That's your preprocessor. And then this right here feeds in the source. And then once this is fed in, we go back up. Now we invoke the compiler. And then of course, there you go. And once we're done with that, alright, come back here, link edit, assuming it needs to link. Go ahead and link edit it and then save it. And of course the save option is right here. Okay, so we're going to submit this. And we switch over to console. There we are, boom, runs perfectly. Edit this. You can see I already did this in the past. And display it. Yeah, it's exactly what you think it is. Good old-fashioned run the COBOL compiler. Alright, get rid of that because we're done. Now we actually need to do the hard work. Now in order to actually add a CICS transaction, it needs a transaction ID. And in order for it to run on VSE, it has to have security attached to it. So log out of here, log back in as CICS, and we're going to hit F6. But before we do that, we're actually going to go to resource definition and maintain transaction security. Now, because CICS is weird on VSE, transaction security can't actually be keyed in using CICS commands or on the console with using the message and then entering data. So we actually have to manually type this in because yes, it is in fact a binary file, as ridiculous as that may seem. So go ahead and enter here and then add. Hello. Boom, we're done. It's that easy. If you want to see that, there it is again. You can alter it, but it really doesn't matter. Just set the security class to global. Now hit F5, and this right here is going to generate that good old-fashioned binary file. If this would hurry up and run, I have no clue what I'm waiting on. There we go. Alright, submit that to batch, and then it just runs that. Quick job over there. Alright, and now we can hit F6. And now we have to do all the horrible CICS commands. So this is where it gets relatively annoying, because it's a lot of typing. So we use CEDA. CEDA will allow you to define resources to CICS. So what we do is we use CEDA, define program CICS high. Remember, this right here is the program that's stored in primary.user. And we need to associate with a group. Everything CICS has to be with a group. Okay? So that right there itself produced a group. Does any of this matter? Literally no. This is all you have to type. That's it. Don't bother typing all that extra stuff. Now we're going to define transaction hello group CICS test program, you guess it, CICS high. Alright, we did that. Now we do CEDA install group CICS test. Install successful. Now we do CEDA per sec. Oh, CMT per sec, sorry. And if we look back over here, it says resource profiles have been rebuilt. So now you can run it. There you go. It's literally that easy. I make it to look a little bit more complicated than what it really is, but that's literally all you have to do. And if you want, you can define that as a custom transaction ID that you can launch out of the ICCF menu, but that's literally all it is. And if we go look in Ditto at go 5.2 and then we look in primary.user, you'll see there it is. here's our demonstrations from the previous videos where we were reading and working with the file. This right here is just an example COBOL program, and then of course this right here, there it is, our incredible, highly, probably a little bit bloated because of the runtime library, CICS program. Yes, these tend to be relatively large, and of course VSE being rather non-sophisticated doesn't support any fancy memory deduplication techniques that you might get on ZOS. But that's really all there is to it. Now, let's say you wanted to do a fancy CICS map. Well, let's take it a step further, shall we? Let's do a fancy 3270 screen. So, let's get to it. This is actually relatively easy. So what you want to do is you probably want to, well, first you want to start editing a new file. I'm going to call this test map. What you probably want to do is use a wonderful program called NSI2 BMS. It's spelled and capped exactly like that. You can find it on GitHub, and it's exactly what I used. So now all I have to do is just do a little bit of judicious copy pasting. Yeah, I know it's ridiculous, but you know, it gets the job done. And of course, keep throwing in each page. And you may notice it's just literally a ton of assembler macros, and in fact it actually is. Make sure you don't have any duplicate lines, or duplicate empty lines I should say. Yeah, CICS isn't that bad. Actually, we're going to replace this with, we're going to make a grammatical mistake on purpose, so we don't have to deal with quotation marks being all messy. So we're going to delete these comments, just keep the assembler from yelling at us. Alright. In theory that should be okay. Now the question is it good? Well, we're going to see if it's good enough for us. So this is of course a map definition. It is assembler. We don't want that. We want to do... Oop, hang on a second. I'm doing that on the wrong file. Alright, let's try that again. This is a map definition. It is always in assembly language. It will always be in assembly language. You have no choice. And, okay, hang on a second. Why do I keep messing this up? Oops. Let's try that again. There we go. I keep missing it. Oops. That was not supposed to happen. I just submitted a dummy job. It won't do anything. It will fail. Alright, don't do that. Map definition, assembly, no, yes. C test map, C test map. Alright, there we go. That was a bit wrong. Okay, now you may be wondering, do we get a COBOL copybook out of this? Yes, we technically do. And there's a way to access it. And we're going to look at how you do that. Note here that there's two catalogings that occur. This right here catalogs the macros and all of that. Now this right here is just assembly, or it's just a demonstration, because it's going to produce an assembly map. Keep that in mind. And that's important, because we're going to take a look at what that actually means. Boom. Absolutely brilliant. Catalog the map. And there we go. Now, if we delete this, and then we redo a compile operation, and we say that it is a map definition COBOL, it's going to be a little bit more advanced than that. That this makes a copybook. Alright. Of course, all this is running as you'd expect. Oop. Okay, so now we're going to get out of here. We're going to run ditto, as always. We'll look at our library. I'm going to have several things in here. If we edit this, you can see that it is a good old-fashioned COBOL copybook. This right here is also a COBOL copybook, but you may know something. It has a .a extension. Yes, it's true, I am purposefully demonstrating a bit of a fluke in that compile dialog. Depending on what you do, you may or may not get an appropriately named file. It does need to be testmap.c, because C is for COBOL, not a C program. And of course we have our phase as usual, and this right here we're going to eventually load into CICS. But before we do that, we need to actually use our mad CICS programming skills to throw the map on screen. So we're going to do a add member, we're going to do show map, and now we have to grab our example. So this right here is going to be a relatively short COBOL program to type in. Just pause it and copy it. I'm actually going to pause the recording here and just slipstream it in and just paste it in. Alright, so I got that typed in. Now do note there is some oops, there's an error here. Do note that this right here is basically including a file. This right here will pretty much be pretty much anywhere in VSE be the equivalent of #include in C, because yes, this does allegedly work with nested files, because obviously we're including this from the actual compile job stream, and then of course we're including this in that, so all is well with that. And this right here is pretty much exactly what you'd expect. Do that. Of course, now we need to actually compile our show map program. So we're gonna. This, of course, is also an online program. It is COBOL. No, yes. And as always, we need to edit it. Alright, looks good. Now we submit this, and we hope that this actually works, because the chances of this actually working are basically slim to none. Spool request out of sequence. Now that right there, that's what I'm talking about. So, yeah, reading path. Okay, so let's go figure out what in the world happened there. Let's see. Oops. Test nps.c not found. And of course, the program just dumps. So let's get out of here. There it is. Test map. Yeah, that would have been good. Yeah, it's testmap.c. Sorry. Now if we go back and I need to press the reset key here. Yeah, let's actually get that plugged in correctly. So, you may notice that we called it test map. However, the actual map group is test NPS, so I should probably rename that just to make everything fully consistent. And then when we do our test map compilation thing, we'll let that run. And then when we edit our show map program, we will now have a test map .c that we can actually use. So let's try that again. So we'll submit that. Come back here, make sure that all is well. Alright, looks good. Compile program show map. Looks like that ran. Now if we go down here and look at our job output. Alright. There we go. Okay, and you can see that this is where it includes the file. Yeah, that's good. Looking good there. Oop. Oh yeah, I didn't even catch that. Oops. Alright, let's try that. Plugging in the right name for everything here. The map set is test map. Okay, this is really bad practice, but if you take a look at the thing that I used, the map group or the map set is called TST map, and the map itself is called test map. Please do not be that ambiguous with your names. Alright, let's compile that again. Of course, we're still rocking and rolling. And let's make sure that actually is 100% correct. Test map, perfect. Great. Now let's get out of here. Go back to CICS, and we're going to go to 2.8. We're going to define some more transaction security. Hit enter. Go to 1. And we're going to do map T. Sounds good to me. Process this. and go ahead and just submit it as is. And of course, it's going to do our thing there with the catalog, that wonderful binary file that does all the security. F6, CEDA, define map, test map, group, map, we'll just go kicks test. Okay, so that's our map set that we called it a moment ago. Now we're going to do CEDA define program show map. Alright, we're going to do a define a transaction. Sorry, it's map T. Alright, good. Oops. Map T transaction, yeah, right. There you go. So as you can see, it's really not that hard to do your fancy ASCII art graphics with CICS. Now, I will have to say, this video was a bit of a bang-up video because I made a ton of mistakes along the way. But I'll be honest, this was the 4th time I redid this. I'm not particularly good with scripting out a video ahead of time, simply because I don't want to... If I do that, I'll blow through it way too quickly, I believe. And I want to try to, you know, go at a reasonable pace, so to speak. So that's why I didn't want to overly edit this. But there you go. It's really not that bad. And you're now armed with the knowledge of doing all that crazy stuff. In the next video, we're going to look at some more complex programming topics, and we'll also eventually look at network configuration and just general system maintenance tasks and all that. And I'll see you then.